fine. All right, I started recording now, so it should be recording my entire screen. Give me a sec. I'll edit though this part out, but yeah. So question is, it was like, what is to care for you, and then we went down this rabbit hole of it was first your music, but then we came into this conclusion of it was you had a fun time climbing with Robert, and that was one of your first time hiking, right?
Climbing.
Like
Yeah.
climbing like really big stuff. It was a 14er,
Yeah.
right? Or what was
Yeah.
it? It was 14 or so.
Yeah. So it was a 14er, and honestly, I've never like been on any sort of hike before,
Yeah.
and this was a time where I was like not doing great. I didn't have any confidence in myself, but like I just started like jogging every day to like just be healthy. Anyways, like this was a time where I was like, I'm just gonna go for everything and try my hardest, and see what happens. And then at this point, Robert was like, "Hey, let's go on this hike," and I was like, I was gonna say yes to like anything,
Mm-hmm.
just to try new experiences. So we went on this hike, and it was we went at like 3 in the morning, didn't have like any sleep at all, super exhausted. And then we had like a McDonald's sandwich to
So
eat, and that's all.
so
And then
technically, you did just kind of like, what was it? Was it a planned thing? Like
no, it was a
what?
planned thing. The thing was, Robert has done these kind of hikes a lot of times. He's like very experienced,
Mm-hmm.
but he did not. Oh, I didn't ask a lot of questions either. Maybe I should have, but he didn't give me a lot of information. I kind of just assumed that, you're just gonna go on a hike. You don't need anything. So I had like a jacket and stuff, which he told me to bring. The thing that I missed was like I didn't like have a lot of food, and water.
Okay.
And probably we should have slept more. But yeah, that was there wasn't a lot of planning on my side, and I wish he like told me more things like, hey, you need to have like a bunch of granola bars because you're gonna get exhausted at this point, and you should save your water at this point. Wear these kind of gloves and these kind of shoes. And I just went with like regular Adidas shoes and like a Batman jacket, and so it worked out okay, but I wasn't fully prepared, I guess.
Give me a second. I think the audio messed up a little bit. I think we're back. I think we're back. Okay. You might be delayed for a bit, but I guess what counts is the audio. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you pretty much you planned it, but you weren't given the information you needed to go on this trip. And then it was a hiking trip. How far from, I guess, downtown Denver, or from Denver was it? Like, was it a long drive? Was it
I think it
close?
was like two to 3 hours, or,
Away?
or not 2 to 3 hours, maybe 2 hours away. Yeah,
Okay, so it's far.
because we left at like 3 in the morning and got there like 5, I think.
All
I
right.
might be wrong, but it's about that much, and
And
it's a 14,000 feet.
but you start at like 7,000, right? So you don't you don't start at sea level. You start at
Yeah, I
like
think it was
5,000.
somewhere a little higher, probably 5,000 to 7,000.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can keep talking about the, I guess, the entire trip, right? From so we already went over. You weren't really prepared. It was your first time going, and
Yeah.
then I don't know, just
And my body wasn't really used to this kind of stuff anyways, because I don't work out, and I play like soccer sometimes, and like I was kind of active, but like not as much for this hike. It was like really hardcore. So like we went up, and then Robert is like a little hardcore with everything. He's like, we can do it. We can do anything. Like he's got that attitude where he's like, don't give up. You can do whatever you want. So like he's like, oh, let's go on this path, and it was supposed to be the ski route. The that when it snows, that's where people ski. So it's like kind of steep,
it's a little
and
bit
then there are a
steeper.
bunch of loose rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up that, and me being like at that time, I was like, I'm gonna go hardcore with everything. I can do anything.
Yeah.
So we both went on this like long journey to get up, and it was very exhausting. It was tiring. It was very dangerous, to be honest, with the loose rocks, because like you could slip on any of those rocks and like fall to your death if you're not careful. Like, to be honest, it was not a safe thing. And we took a good amount to get up, and once we got up, it was chill. And then um, when we were coming back down, actually, we took another dangerous route.
So
I don't even know
that
why.
so that's the biggest part of the story. The getting up there was not the difficult part. I'm guessing it was just
Yeah,
exhausting in the
it
sense
was
that
dangerous, but I feel like the going down was a lot more dangerous. I actually have a picture of that. I'll share it with you.
you're
That you
also
can show.
sharing the small
Yeah, the
video of
video.
you recording,
There's
so
a
that's good.
picture of like how steep that area was with the loose rocks,
Hmm.
and there's like a point where I actually slip on the video, which looks kind of scary, and it was really scary. So like we were coming down. I was a little cocky at this point because I'm like, oh yeah, we came all the way up. We can do whatever, we can come down.
Yeah.
And then once I slipped, and I thought that I think I fell like 5 to 10 feet down, and I looked around. I was like,
You
what am I
slipped.
doing?
You ended up
Yeah, I actually
slipping.
slipped.
So,
Yeah, I slipped.
oh,
Before slipping, I was like really confident. I was just like, we were dancing and we are like, oh, we can do this, and we're going
yeah.
down. And I slipped, and that's when like I came to my senses. I was like, I could actually die here today. And like I started thinking about my family, about Robert's family. Like I was like, if I die today, like this is gonna be on Robert's conscience. My parents are gonna like, it's gonna be like that's all that's going through my head. And like I stopped, and I'm like freaking out. And there are parts where like I'm terrified, and I like sat down, I started crying. I'm like, hey, can we get like a chopper in here or something? Can we call emergency services? He's like, we don't have service, and this we can't do that. He's like, I will take care of you. I'm like, okay, fine. And then there was actually a point where like it started raining too, so like that caused more, like the wet rocks are even more slippery.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then there was a point where we found like a rope where we had to tie it, and we had to do a little bit of rock climbing and pull it down, and I was supposed to go first, and it was scary, dude, because if I slipped there, I could have like fallen to my death. But like
Falling to your death.
I was able to hold on. It was my first time like holding on to a rope, because every time I've done it at the gym, like I would be like, oh, I can't do this, and I'd always fall off.
Well,
But
yeah, and
this time I had to like
at a
hold
gym
on
it's
to the rope
soft, right?
properly. Huh?
Because you also did like rock climbing and stuff like that. So if you fall at a gym, it's the worst thing you can have is what, like a sprained ankle or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's fine. You have a pad underneath you. Over here, it's like wet rocks and like a
Just sharp.
incline that's this steep. Yeah. And then it was like we were also like very exhausted. And to be honest, we took 14 whole hours the whole trip, like going up and coming down for 14,000 feet. Um, and it took us a long time. We came down at like 7 p.m. or something. And then after a point, it got okay. It was less steep, but like I was just sliding down on my butt. Like
The
my
entire way
pants
down.
were like ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll just keep sliding down, because standing up was not a good idea, because it's the center of gravity, right? Like if I lean forward too much,
Yeah,
I can fall.
you're
So
lowering
like
your center of gravity.
you gotta lower your center of gravity. And at a certain point, I'm so exhausted. I'm just rubbing my butt on the rocks, and my pants are ripped. My shoes are ripped. Where I'm so exhausted, and I just keep going. And Robert's like, okay, I'm tired. And he just left me. He just went all the way down, because he
Okay.
was like, I'll just wait for him.
Is
He
the
went down and kind of like took scenic videos, and he was like taking a nap down there. And I was just like trying my hardest, because I was like so exhausted. And then we finally like made it. And I had like a fever.
Oh,
my
so
I had
you
like
ended up getting sick out of this
Yeah, I got
whole
sick.
experience.
My whole body was sore.
Yeah.
Like I drove for a little bit, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna drive. And I just like kind of took a nap in the back, and Robert drove back. And I actually called my parents. I was just like, yo, I'm good. Um, like we went on a hike, and it was dangerous, but I'm okay. I just want to come home and eat some good food and like pass out.
It's
My
just
parents were so worried. They were like, when my mom saw my pants, she was just like, now anytime I mention a hike, you can like see it in her eyes. She's like, no, you're not gonna do
you're not
anything
gonna
like
do
this
it.
again, because like there's like holes in my pants.
Jesus.
And
So
um
what time of the year was this actually? I just kind of let you go with the story, but
this was August of 2018.
okay. So no, you're not getting any snow yet. So at least that's the
Yeah,
positive.
it's not this with snow at the moment.
It's just
Like
kind of rainy sometime,
I
I'm
think
guessing.
the fever was more because like I put out in so much energy to do this, because I've never done it before, and we didn't have enough sleep, not enough food, and we just pushed through. And I think my body was just not used to anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why it was like I was sore for like 2 weeks. Like I couldn't get up. Like my shoulders, my back, like everything.
It was a
It
full
was
body workout.
yeah.
From like yeah. So I mean, you've kind of cleared it, and I think it's actually pretty interesting, and you've hit a lot of points. You know, a lot of very interesting kind of points for people that are just starting off to go hiking. But at the same time, now that I kind of listen to you, it was really ballsy to go for your first hike to go on a 14er. That's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. But I mean, looking back on it, what would be like? What would be like if you had to like change one thing? I guess it's just a question of like being prepared or anything. What would you choose? Like getting more sleep. What would it be like the number one thing that you would change about that
Um.
trip? Like better pants, better shoes. I don't know. Not climbing all the way
Um.
up.
I mean, I think there are a couple of things I even said them. Like I think good sleep is like really good. For me also, I feel like sometimes when I don't sleep well and if I don't eat properly the previous night, like I am I I'm running on a weird digestive state where like I kind of need to go to the bathroom, but like there was so much going on in my body where it was just going against me when I was going on this hike. And then I'd probably keep a bunch more like food to eat on the way and like make sure to hydrate properly
Mhm.
like while you're going. Um, what else would be important? Good shoes are really important because we went on another hike there with shoes that weren't so great, and we didn't know that it was snowing. So I actually did go on Quandary again with the snow with Wendy and Jesse. And while coming down, it was just hard. It wasn't dangerous per se. It was just difficult because we didn't have any traction and we'd just keep falling down. So it was just tiring to keep getting up. It
Okay.
sounds dumb, but like it was just a long process because of it. So like the shoes, like having good equipment is really good, and being with someone that knows what they're doing, like Robert. Like to be honest, it's because of him that I'm here. I give him a lot of like crap for um, taking me on this and like not really caring, but he did like make sure that I was okay by the end.
Yeah,
So
it's a story of well, ever since it first happened, like
yeah,
it was it was funny to listen to it. I can't imagine like you actually being up there. Um,
yeah, like it's hard telling people because like no one takes it seriously, but
yeah,
like when
because
you're there, it's so terrifying. Yeah,
nobody really expects it to be that big.
yeah.
Was it did like the added pressure of not having any service, like you were straight up just up there like with Robert, like there was no way to like send a text message up to your parents or give him a call.
Yeah, because
Was
both
that
of our
was that an
phones were dead
extra?
at that point.
Oh, okay, so it was
Oh
just
yeah, that was definitely like more of a pressure, and I think that pushed me to like that and like me feeling kind of guilty, like if something happens to one of us and how like that's gonna affect other people. Those kind of push me through where it's like, yo, I don't want to let this happen. This is not the time when I'm gonna die. I like have to push through, and like it kind of like put that mindset where I was just like I just kept going.
yeah.
Even though I was like I stopped focusing on like how I was feeling. I just kept on going. There were times where I just stopped and I was tired, but like I just kept going. And I think that was one thing that it taught me where it's like this was such a difficult thing to do, but with your mindset, like if you have to do something and you want to do it, you just
You
have
power
to
through it.
go for it. Like yeah, like blindly. And that's one thing that I feel like I learned from this is like you can practically do a lot of things as long as like you're very strong with your mindset.
Okay, and just being prepared. I'm
So
guessing that
yeah,
also helps.
prepared would have helped a little bit more, but like all the circumstances were against us at that point.
And then after this, you've actually been hiking more, right? Like you've gone well, not on 14ers, but you've gone out with more friends and
Yeah,
you've
I've
hiked.
gone on safer ones. I'm able to like assess having better equipment and like figuring out how much things to take and like you kind of start um you're able to strategize better
Yeah.
going on it. I've been on shorter hikes, but like I've never been as exhausted as I was that day. I'm always like um doing just fine going up and coming down. So like I think like doing these kind of things teaches you like the first time you go you're like, oh, this next time I need to get better shoes. It's like to take care of yourself you gotta like get better food, get better sleep, and then you start slowly implementing that and improving the way you do things, right?
Hmm. Yeah. You've
So
also I think you did mention that not during this interview, but in the past that you actually bought like hiking shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
yeah, because after the
mid-range shoes, right?
yeah, after the hike that I went recently on the snow, like that was the time where I was like, okay, we're not wearing regular shoes from Walmart. We're gonna get like actual climbing shoes
Climbing
that have
shoes.
a little bit of traction so that you can actually, because like when the ground is wet, it's just not great. You just slip. We fell down so many times. Actually, the second hike was kind of dangerous too, but um yeah, having the shoes is was so important when there's like wet ground or like snow because you can like fall on the stones or the rocks,
Yeah.
like pierce yourself. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're at 15 minutes, but I mean, you covered the whole story, and I think that's what I really was interested in, apart from like all
yeah,
the other info. And then you're giving me the video, right? Like
yeah,
the recording of the day, so that's gonna be fun. Yep. So
yeah.
that was Sreyas Akkera with his hiking story. So
Thanks, guys.
thank you for watching it.
Thanks, Diego.
You're welcome. I was about to disconnect from that, but I don't need to disconnect. I just need to stop this thing.